Hello, welcome back to Astro Mary Learn Astrology with Mary English. My name is Mary English and I'm a professional astrologer and I live and work in the city of Bath in the West Country in the UK, and I've been a practicing astrologer for more than 20 years. So here we are today. We're going to, this lesson is about transits. Last week we were discussing indigo charts, and I did say in last week's lesson I didn't know what I was going to do this week, but I'd forgotten that I hadn't covered transits. So everything that we've discussed up until now is talking about your birth chart as being something static, something that stays the same. Just like your fingerprints in your hands, they don't change. Well, your birth chart doesn't change. It's a static thing. You can have an analysis of it. You've got this here, you've got that there, you've got ascendant, you've got sun, moon, you've got all the planets, la la la. So that describes who you are and your motivations, what you're most likely to do. Now, because that's a static thing, and if that's all we had in astrology, even as exciting it would be to understand yourself and learn about yourself a bit more, it might be a tad on the boring side. So astrologers in their infinite wisdom invented, I don't know if invented is the wrong word, but anyway, developed a thing called transits. And transits are when a planet today moves past what was or is, I don't know how you want to put it, past tense, in your birth chart. So if you imagine that your birth chart is you parked on the motorway, right? And a transit is a car overtaking you on the motorway, right? But you're parked on the motorway, but these are cars that are coming past you that are overtaking you. So some planets will come past just like cars ever so fast, and you're probably not even going to notice them. That's the moon changes sign every couple of days. Some are great big juggernauty things. They're going to come past us like Pluto, dum 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 dum, and that's a planet that comes past very, very slowly in your chart. It takes absolutely ages to come past. It's probably sort of doing like 1 or 2 miles an hour, but when it does come past you parked on the hard shoulder on the motorway, you're going to feel the reverberations as it gets nearer and nearer, and then it goes past. And so if you imagine that a transit is a little like you parked on the hard shoulder on the motorway, and the transit is a planet coming past where you are. Because we can't talk about your birth chart as being something in the past. Your birth chart is you. It's how you are. I know it's constructed from your birth date, and time's an amazing thing. We're going forwards in time. But astrology, we don't care about past, present or future, because we can track all of those things. So to illustrate for you and make it easier for you to understand whatever it is I'm waffling about, I'd like you to go to astro.com right now. I hope you've made your account. Go to astro.com, and on the main page, the home page, top left, you'll see home, free horoscopes, astro shop, all about astrology and contact. I'd like you to click on free horoscopes, scroll all the way over to the right hand side of that drop down box. You'll see a section that says drawings and calculations, and the bit that we're always working with is the one that says extended chart selection. So click on that. Now, if you set your account to have high security, you'll have to sign in at this point, but I've already signed in earlier on, so I don't have to do it again. But I would recommend that you do that, because it does mean that somebody can't hack into your account and have a look at all your data that you've got on there. You might not even think that as being important at the moment because you're just learning astrology, but trust me, when you've got a couple of hundred charts on there, and I've got 1,000 and I pay extra for those, if you've got a lot of charts on there and somebody were to hack into your account, they'd know all about your client. So if, in my case, because I'm a professional astrologer, I have to keep my client data as secure as possible, and that's why I've set high security to my account so I can sign in. Anyway, so there we go. We're now in the extended chart selection of astro.com. So get in the box that says birth data horoscope for, stick your name in there, and at the moment we're going to be using a lady called Jay, because we're going to Joe, we're going to be using Joe. We've got 2 volunteers today. We have Joe and we have Miriam, but we're going to discuss Joe's chart first. So horoscope 4, stick your name in there, and then scroll down and you'll see The next box is chart type. Now, up until now, we haven't touched those boxes, but we are today. So click in the chart type where it says natal chart wheel, click in there and scroll down to where it says in capital letters prognostic methods, and go down 2 more times until you get to natal chart and transits. Now, we're going to produce your birth chart with the transiting planets, so the planets that are zooming by your birth chart at the moment. You'll see how that is in a tick. And then make sure when you get to the options, don't click on anything yet, you're just doing boxes where it says options, start date for charts marked with, well, we're using today's date, which is the 21st of May, but you can stick any date in there you like, just as an interest factor. You know, you could put the date you got married, you could put the date, I don't know, you got divorced, the date you started school, the day you started dating somebody, the day you had a baby even. But for the purposes of this podcast, we're having today's date, which is the 21st of May, an in-house system. Make sure you click the box that says equal, because I teach equal house astrology. If you take anything else, you're not going to be following what I'm waffling on about. So we've used 3 boxes: horoscope for, name of you or the person you want to look at, chart type, natal charts and transits, and house system equal, and the date just above that of when you'd like the chart to be. So we're going to do 21st, and then click here to show chart. Now on your next page, take it a few minutes to load, you will have your birth chart, which we've discussed before, your sun, your moon, your ascendant, blah 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 blah. That's all in the center wheel. Then the wheel outside of that has all the symbols for the signs of the zodiac, and if you're following on from me and you're doing it correctly, your signs of the zodiac, the red ones are fire signs, the blue ones are water signs, the yellow ones are air signs, and the earth signs are green. They're around the circle. But on the very outside of the chart you've now created is depending whether or not you've clicked everything correctly, the outside of it should be blue. If you're looking in black and white, don't worry, it just means the outside of the chart is shaded, but all over the outside of your chart in green, which would be, if you're using black and white, it would be black, but we're assuming you've done it correctly. The outside of your chart, you'll see all the planets that we've learned about are in each sign of the zodiac, and I'm using today's date, so if you want to follow on for me, put the 21st of May in. That's where the planets are today. Now, this is where astrology gets so interesting. I get all excited when I'm always checking people's transits, because when somebody makes an appointment to come and see me, generally something's happening, and more often than not, the culprits that will be causing the anguish for a client to come and see me are generally Pluto or Saturn. Sometimes it's Jupiter, but not often. But to go to all the trouble to go and see an astrologer, you'd have to have something, use the word drastic, you'd have to have something challenging happening. Yeah? And in our first chart example, we're using Jo's chart, and her ascendant is in the sign of Sagittarius. And because Saturn is in the sign of Sagittarius at the moment, she is experiencing a certain amount of stress. Saturn at this precise moment in time is retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius, and will be until, I think it's about the 26th of August. And then just to let you know, Jo, things start to cheer up then. So just hold yourself together and, I was going to say behave, but that's not what I meant. Jo, just follow the rules, because when Saturn transits your ascendant and your sun sign, you do really have to behave yourself. You can't go off the rails or do something daft. You have to do as you are advised. And when you get to the 26th of August or thereabouts, Saturn will start going forwards again, because it's retrograde at the moment, and things will cheer up a bit. Now, looking at your chart, the planets I'm talking about at the moment, if you're using the 21st of May, which is the date that I'm making this chart, will be in these signs. So here we go. Let's start with this. Venus is in Aries and Uranus is in Aries. So if you've got any planets in those signs, you're going to have Venus and Uranus transiting them. Yeah. Mercury is in Taurus, and the Sun today has just changed and is now in Gemini. And Mars is in Gemini. There's 0 in Cancer, there's nothing in Leo, there's nothing in Virgo. Jupiter is in the sign of Libra. There's nothing at the moment in the sign of Scorpio. And Saturn is in the sign of Sagittarius. It's just coming to the end of a 2-year transit, because it spends 2 years in each sign of the zodiac and takes approximately 28 to 30 years to go all the way around the zodiac. And Pluto, the planet I was talking about earlier, if you're parked on the hard shoulder on the motorway and Pluto comes past, this is the most enormous truck ever that's going to come past whatever might be in your chart, and it's very, very slow moving, so it takes a long time to get to you, but you'll feel the reverberations, and as it goes off to the distance you'll still feel it until it's at least 8 degrees away from whatever it is in your chart. Yeah? And at the moment Pluto's in the sign of Capricorn, there's nothing in the sign of Aquarius, and Neptune, bless, and today Neptune and the moon are in the sign of Pisces, so the moon's in my sign, yeah, and Chiron's in the sign of Pisces as well, but we'll talk about him at another point. So of the planets that are transiting at the moment, I think only 2 of them, yes, only 2 of them are retrograde, which is Pluto and Saturn. So if you've got any sections of your chart that are in the signs of Sagittarius or Capricorn, you're going to be under a little bit of the stress of a retrograde planet going past. Now, as we talked about a few episodes ago about aspects, right? So this is the relationship between planets and other planets in your chart. So that's in the centre of the chart. The red lines are the challenging aspects and the blue lines are the more fluffy ones. If you get the odd green one there, that they're normally in conjunction, they're challenging as well. But the difference between a transit is the same amount of maths that we're using for an aspect. So a planet is only transiting, directly transiting and conjuncting something in your chart if it's 8 degrees near to your birth planet. So in Joe's case, her sun sign is 15 degrees Sagittarius, and at this precise moment in time Saturn is 26 degrees in the sign of Sagittarius. And if we're using an orb of 8 degrees and you take 15 away from 26, you're left with 11, so it's what we call out of orb. So in point of fact, in Joe's case, Saturn has actually moved past a critical point. It's still chugging around in the sign of Sagittarius, so it might be causing some grief, but actually it's got past the critical bit. So now's the sort of getting yourself back together again, having had the impact of Saturn transiting your sun sign. However, you do have Moon in the sign of Capricorn, and Saturn's going to spend 2 years in the sign of Capricorn. So with the Saturn transit, Saturn transiting your moon, the moon is how you feel, Saturn's about responsibility, authority, do the right thing. When it goes past your moon, because it's in its own sign, Saturn looks after the sign of Capricorn. You've got moon in Capricorn. Saturn's happy in the sign of Capricorn. Your moon probably isn't happy in the sign of Capricorn. But the Saturn transit's not going to have as much effect as the Saturn transiting your sun sign, because it's in its own sign. When a planet gets into the sign of the zodiac it's happier with, it causes less grief and anxiety. Now in my case, I'm sun sign Pisces. When Saturn was in my sign, in the sign of Pisces, my husband ran off with another woman, which at the time was pretty traumatic. So when Saturn transits your sun sign, and it'll be happening to all Sagittarians at the moment, depending on what degree their sun sign is, and it's a 2-year transit. But when Saturn transit, it's not always fun. It's not fun. It's not fluffy. It's livable through, but it can be a severe challenge. Yeah? Now you can on astro.com get it's called Short Report Forecast, written by Robert Hand. I think it's written by. Gosh, let me just check. Short report forecast is written by, have a quick check. Yes, it's written by Robert Hand. The short report forecast is written and based on the major transits in your chart, and these aren't conjunctions. So this would be something like Jupiter is trine to your moon, and Pluto is quincunx to your whatever. So these, what I'm talking about transits at the moment, is when things come past and they're actually conjunct in the same sign as your birth sign, but you can equally have them in if it's in a fire sign, in another fire sign. So you know, it can go on forever when you're talking about transits, but I generally, just to make life easier, and otherwise my clients will never get out of my office, is only look at conjunction transits. So you've got something natally in your chart and a planet's coming past, and it's in the same sign as the things that are in your birth chart. So it's not forming an aspect into a different sign and an angle. So we'd be going on forever with this. Now, in our other chart example is Miriam. So let me just get hers up. And I'll just see what's like. She's also got a Sagittarius ascendant, I think. So Miriam, in your case, because your chart also starts in Sagittarius, and Saturn, oh, he's way out of order now, and you haven't got any planets in your first house either. So you've finished your Saturn going over your ascendant, so that's cool. I think we might have spoken once before, because your sun sign is Scorpio. 2 years ago, life was pretty stressful because Saturn was in the sign of Scorpio for 2 years, but it's gone past your ascendant, you're cushy, it's okay, it's not causing you any more grief. So find your birth chart, have a look at the transits, see where the planets are today, see which ones are in the same sign as your birth planets, and just make your own analysis of it. But just briefly, to let you know what a transit for each planet is. So the sun transiting, it's going to do that every month, right? Because the sun changes sign every month. So don't fret about sun transits. The moon, unless you're a Cancer, again, don't fret about moon transits, because it's in takes 28 days to go around the zodiac, 2 days in each sign of the zodiac. I mean, you might choose, or you might go for a job interview or something when the moon's in your own sign. So say your sun sign is Taurus and the moon goes into the sign of Taurus and you've got a job interview, hey, that would be a good day for you, yeah? Mercury transits. Mercury takes, again, around about a month to transit through a sign. It'll take a whole year to go around the zodiac. Unless you're a Gemini or a Virgo, don't fret about Mercury transits, but do pay attention to transits of Mercury when Mercury's retrograde, because that's when everything stops working properly. Venus transits are lovely. Mars transits gives you extra energy. Jupiter transits bring you knowledge. They only last a year. Saturn transits, it's a life lesson that you're learning. They last 2 years. Uranus, they can last, because it takes 80 years to go around the zodiac, so it can last a number of years. Uranus in your own sign, so that's all the Aries out there at the moment. Uranus is in your sign. Things can speed up and you'll be searching for freedom. Neptune transits take yonks, and so do Pluto ones. So unless you're a Pisces or a Capricorn, those transits aren't going to be affecting you in any big way until they're exact. So until they're exactly the same degree as your sun sign. So that's just a teeny skip around transits this week. Next week we're going to talk about progressions. Ooh, it can get complicated. So if you've got any questions, do whack me an email. It's mary@maryenglish.co.uk. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson this week, learning a teeny bit about transits. Do get your chart up. Do get to see where the planets are today, but also go back a bit in time. You know, go to key events in your life and see what was transiting. Was something going over your ascendant? Was something going near to your moon? Was something going past your sun sign? It's illuminating having a look at it. Have a fab week, and we'll do progressions next week. Bye bye now.